Hi, afternoon, good evening, guys. My name is Juchen Guo. So I'm associate professor in the department. I'm also the admission graduate advisor. So I'm in charge of the admissions. So today I will maybe spend five or 6 minutes, right, to give you guys an overview of our department and also the admission processes. Okay. So for very brief overview for the department, like Professor Crocker said, so we are very unique department with the chemical and the environmental engineering. So we have two majors on the environmental engineering. So as a sum, so basically we right now in the department have about 400 undergrad students. We have about 100 graduate students, and we have 21 full-time tenure track faculty members. So for the research expenditure, so for the extramural funding, so we probably last year from 2009 to 2012, we got reach 600,000 per faculty members. So since 2013, so we already, the growth is already 330% on the extramural funding, and we have a 50% increase of the graduate student body, right, since 2012, that's 8 years ago. Now we are increased 50 times of the population. And our faculty are a very young body of faculty members and very vibrant. And actually we are very research active. So for example, we have 6 young investigator awards among the young faculty young faculties in this department. And since 2011, the 9 years ago, so doubles our faculty member size. So, and we are a very relatively young program, but a very research active and a vibrant program. Okay. So, like I said, we are very high productive and very dynamic, right? So, and then the department is very unique. It's a multidisciplinary research and collaborative projects, right? So, and at the UCR, we have a very excellent infrastructures and outstanding laboratory research facilities. Okay, so we have a very large graduate program, and we have many research opportunities. Okay, so our graduate program actually started like a little bit more 20 years ago, so 1999, and then it's joined the chemical and environmental graduate program. We offer both master degree and a PhD degree. And we also have one specific concentration master degree is a master in industrial biotechnologies. I think later Professor Wilden will discuss this master program in industrial biotechnology in details. We also offer 5 years BS and MS degree, combined degree, those that is for our UCR graduates. So we have 6 research areas, right? So, well, it's not clear cut this area, right? So like I said, many of our project research are multidisciplinary, but we can just loosely define them in categorized in 6 areas, right? Advanced material nanotechnology, computational and molecular modeling, air quality engineering, energy conversion and storage, biotechnology, biomolecular engineering, and water quality engineering. Okay, that's the 6 research areas, right? So in our department. So for our PhD program, right? So so I think maybe it's time for you to start to apply for either master program or PhD program. So for PhD program, so we probably prefer you submit your application by December 15th. So, and then any application before December 15th will be prioritized, considered for
Okay, we seem to have a little bit of a freeze up. Can everyone still hear my voice?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So what we can do is we can invite Professor Guo to finish his presentation, perhaps toward the end, if he's unable to recover. Okay. So with that, we'll go ahead and move on, and hopefully he'll be back. So we'll now hear from Professor Youngjin Min about our Advanced Materials and Nanotechnology program. Professor Min?
Hi. Okay, can I start?
Absolutely.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Youngjin Min. I'm associate professor in this department. I joined this department last July, last summer. And first of all, I'd like to thank the department for inviting me to give an overview of materials aspect of the research and MS program in chemical engineering department. Okay, so next. Okay, so I'm going to start with explaining the importance of materials for chemical engineers. The materials research is one of the broadest and the most active research areas of chemical engineering, involved in discovering and manipulating the materials and characterizing their properties. The chemical engineers have vastly contributed to the field of material science, and some of the materials development achieved by chemical engineers are shown on the bottom of this slide. So for instance, the plastics and the polymers that are resistant to chemicals have many uses in industrial operations and processes. So chemical engineers with focus on the materials, the science has a knowledge of the synthesizing the polymers as well as large-scale productions. In the past 2 decades, particles and nanomaterials have received a lot of attentions. Chemical engineers, they have relied on such particles and nanomaterials to develop optical materials with the unique properties. For instance, the quantum dots shown on the right top are nowadays gaining more and more attention and used in high-end LED screens. On the bottom, the left of the slide, the biomaterials is also important subtopic of chemical engineering materials research. We especially appreciate the importance of this subtopic during this COVID outbreak. There is an increasing need to develop and manufacture antibacterial and antiviral surfaces that actively inhibit pathogen contribution, distribution, and contamination. And antifouling coatings that are developed by chemical engineers have been contributing to this endeavor as well. Likewise, the chemical engineers have been actively involved in the development of sensors for early detection of certain type of diseases. Next. Other materials, the research applications that chemical engineers contributed include the developing the flame, the retardant plastics and the polymers. Considering large-scale fibers taking place in California, the importance of such materials cannot be overemphasized. Likewise, the energy storage and batteries are other fields gaining and more the importance as we increasingly rely on these devices in our daily life. The development of higher density of materials with a longer lifespan and faster charging ability is an active area of this research. Some other research focuses on the material science as a chemical engineers can be listed as a functional thermal and electrical insulation, the lightweight with the high durability, the improved tensile and impact strengths, and the light and increased resistance to oxygen and ozone or ultraviolet radiation damage, etc. Next. In this slide, I'm going to summarize the key faculty members who are working in the area of material science in our department. I'm going to list the faculty members according to the alphabetical order of their last names. The first, the Abdul Aziz's group focuses on the sustainable catalyst and the materials. And Dr. Go's research interests lie in the area of electrochemical materials and interfaces. And my group deals with interfacial science and engineering in soft condensed matter. And while Dr. Sean mostly works on the water quality research, she is also involved in the developing of materials for antibacterial air filters and coatings. Next. And Dr. Wang's group focuses on nanoscale and mesoscale energy materials. And Dr. Wu is actively involved in molecular theory and the modeling of materials. And Dr. Yan has been developing nanophotonics and flexible electronics, and is also involved in nanobiotechnology. And finally, Dr. Zakaria is well recognized for nanoparticles and nanotechnology for energy and the environment. Next. And University of California, Riverside houses many state-of-art characterization facilities, which are important for material science research. Some of those facilities include the Central Facility for Advanced Microscopy and Microanalysis, Nanofabrication Facility, the Analytical Chemistry Instrumental Facility, and Microscopy and Imaging Core Facility. For instance, using atomic force microscopy, one can image the surface texture at nanometer scale resolution. If you have a nanoparticle deposited on the surface, you would be able to visualize them directly using AFM. And using transmission electron microscopy, you can literally see the atoms. For instance, on the top left side of the slide, each spherical white dot indicates the atom, individual atom in crystal lattice. Next. So now next question is what you are going to do after you complete your master's degree. Regardless of your research focus, research areas on chemical engineering, this is the key question you must think first. What kind of job opportunities will I get by completing your degree? By simply search the job listing on Google, you can see that there are numerous opportunities and positions related to material science in the aspect of chemical engineering. I have listed some of those, the companies looking for the chemical engineers and material scientists for hiring in these areas. And obviously, if you are open to other states, the number of opportunities and the possibilities will increase even more. Okay, so with that, I would like to conclude my overview for materials aspect of chemical engineering for the prospective MS students. And thank you for your the attention, and I'm happy to take any questions if you have. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Min. We'll now transition over to our biotechnology master's program discussion by Professor Ian Wilbon.
Thanks, Tenny. Next slide, please. Great, thanks. Yeah, so I wanted to tell you today about our master's program in industrial biotechnology. This is a 9 to 12 month program that really focuses around obviously one academic year, 3 quarters or 9 months of coursework, and then a summer for an internship opportunity that you might do in industry or also maybe on campus at a different, one of a number of different research labs. And so this is a master's program that is dedicated, of course, to gaining skills in industrial biotechnology. And I think a lot of the skills that you learn here are directly translatable to this industry. And next slide, please. Thanks. And so what we mean by industrial technology is the biological production of different materials and molecules that would feed into several different industries or different applications. That of the healthcare industry in the production of pharmaceuticals and medicines, the production of different additives for food and agriculture, of course, biofuels or different fuels production as well as the production of different industrial chemicals. And so examples of these would be things like enzymes that you find in your laundry detergent, or different biodegradable plastics like polylactic acid or some others. Biofuels, of course, again, is a pretty common and obvious example here. You would likely know that if you go to the gas pump, about 10% of your gasoline is ethanol, and that's produced through fermentation almost exclusively. Certainly in food and agriculture, industrial biotechnology plays a big role as well. GM crops, like we'll see in the next slide as well, is a large industry in the United States and worldwide. And then of course, the production of pharmaceuticals and medicine is something that we really focus on as well. Next slide, please. So this is a slide and some data that I really like to share that kind of amplifies and hammers home the point of how big industrial biotechnology is in the United States. Actually, this data that I'm showing here is a little bit old. It's probably from 2016 or 2017. The current numbers are that industrial biotechnology revenues in the United States alone is reaching nearly $400 billion. That's about 2 to 2.5% of US GDP, and is bigger than, say, for example, the automotive industry. So we talk nationally and politically quite often about industries of that size, right? So how do we amplify and support different manufacturing industries? This industry here is larger than a lot of those we often talk about. $400 billion in revenues is a lot of money that goes into industrial biotechnology. Overall, we can think about this as about one third for the production and revenues around GN crops, the production of biologics, which is basically a different way of saying different pharmaceuticals and medicines, and then the production of industrial chemicals. My own research is in industrial biochemical production, and so I've broken down that $100+ billion in revenues into the different categories within there. So biofuels is of course included here. This is revenues that are gained from the sale of ethanol and potentially butanol as a biofuel. But the largest bar here is just biochemicals. So things like acetic acid or succinic acid are currently produced biologically, and we're starting to think about and do research to improve that range of chemicals that we can really produce biologically. So something that is kind of a near-term commercialization is maybe the production of adipic acid. And so adipic acid is a precursor to nylon 6,6. And so we can really think about now and have demonstrated, near industrial scale production of adipic acid from sugars. And so I think that's a real interesting problem and a real interesting subsector of this overall industry. And of course, this is my focus because it's the focus of my own research group, as well as a number of other faculty in the department. So the other faculty, including myself, would be Dr. Ge, Dr. Yanran Lee, Dr. Jinkerson, Robert Jinkerson, Dr. Ashok Mulchandani, and also Dr. Charlie Wyman. These are all faculty that their own research groups are directed in large part or in some part towards industrial biotechnology. So next slide, please. So not only is the information available nationwide, and of course there's also worldwide information, but I think if we look a little closer to home, that the numbers are equally as impressive. This is data from a report called the California Economic Impact Report by Biocom. So of course it's about the industrial bioeconomy in California. And we can see here that it's stated that there's about 15,341 life science establishments. So this is companies or entities that do life science business or do industrial biotechnology business, right? That's a lot of different places within California alone that there are potential for graduates of this program to work. Also included here is the number of $4.6 billion in NIH revenues, and so you've probably heard of NIH, or the National Institutes of Health. During our our current COVID situation, we've talked about it quite a lot, I think. And so this is research money that goes towards California for National Institutes of Health funded research. That's not directly related to not necessarily directly related to the jobs you'll get here, but it's an indication of the amount of money that's coming in for research directly to California. And so really a more important number here is about 1.4 million jobs in California are directly related to the bioeconomy. And that's a large number of positions. And I think, this is an industry that's been growing at a rate of 10% per year over the last decade or more. And I don't see that number really decreasing in the short term, particularly given our challenges with COVID-19 and the potential solutions that come out of industrial biotechnology for that. Next slide, please. So this is a snapshot of the curriculum that you'll be taking if you join this program. Again, it's a focused set of courses over 9 months or 3 quarters. The fall, winter, and spring quarters are exclusively dedicated to gaining new skills in industrial biotechnology. So in the fall quarter, you'll be joining our senior undergraduate class in biochemical engineering principles, and as well as you'll be taking the lab class for there. That's the only wet course or lab class that we have for this, and we really focus on bioprocess design for the rest of the time. Also in the fall quarter, you'll be taking a course with Dr. Wyman about energy uses, and particularly you'll focus on how bioenergy and biofuels are produced in their energy vectors throughout the society. Also, you'll be getting the first of 3 courses that are all linked. This is CEE 238 A, B, and C, or Bioprocess Design Laboratory 1, 2, and 3. So of course, there are a series of classes where you'll really be focused on designing different bioprocesses and understanding how to do those designs and how to individually size and scale different reactors and units within that process, but also thinking about the products that you might find or the products that you might be manufacturing, at what scales they'll happen, etc. The first quarter is really focused on upstream processes. So that's the things, anything upstream of separation. So if there's lots of chemical engineers on the call today, then you'll know downstream is separation. So that's the separations of molecules from in many different ways from the media that they're produced biologically. So the upstream design is done in the first quarter. The winter quarter is focused more on separations and bioseparations. You'll take a dedicated course, and as well as kind of mimic that course content in the bioprocess design laboratory. And then you also follow on with some upstream calculations as well. And then the spring quarter, we kind of bring it all together to look at overall projects, right? So how to, in the bioprocess design laboratory, now you would combine your upstream and downstream skills to look at an entire process. What products are you making? Are they cost effective? What are the economics around the system, et cetera? You'll also look at cell engineering. So how would you manipulate a cell genetically or otherwise? And also finish off some calculations in quantitative analysis of upstream bioprocessing. And so that, again, is 3 quarters or 9 months of dedicated coursework to get you the skills that I think translate almost directly into industry. In the summer quarter, or possibly throughout the 3 quarters that you've been here already, you could take an internship, or you need to take an internship. We'd ideally like this to happen in industry, but it could also happen on research in research labs across campus. And so that's really the focus of this. And I think a real cornerstone of the program is to do this internship and to get some hands-on experience, translating your design skills that you may have learned in a class into practice in a laboratory or in a business setting. I think that's the last slide that I have, Sunny.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Super, thanks.
Yeah. So now we're going to move on to our discussion of our Master's in Science Online Learning Water Quality Systems Engineering program, and that'll be presented by Professor Jenny Young Liu.
Hello, everyone. So my name is Jin Yong Liu. I'm the water engineering faculty. So right now I will talk about our MS online program on the water quality system engineering. Next slide, please. Okay, so the overview of the environmental engineering systems focusing on the water will be mainly explore the science and engineering principles that are essential to providing the clean water and improving the natural environment. And this specialization of the MS online program will incorporate the elements of the water treatment and chemistry, and covering topics such as the water system fundamentals, physical chemical separation process, biological treatment, and advanced technologies. So as we know that the water engineering industry has been relatively established, and there have been some emerging challenges in recent years, such as the PFAS contamination, and we know that's at least a $20 billion business issued by the Department of Defense and many other government agencies to deal with the new problem. And we also know that for some established knowledge we learned from the previous environmental engineering education will not be as useful as we expected. So it really gave us some new opportunity to study more knowledge to deal with the challenging emerging environmental problems. Next slide, please. So for this MS Online curricular-based program, the students will be expected to take the following courses. So there are 4 courses as essential classes for all of the engineering program student, including the ENGR 200, 201, 202, and 203. So these are the general courses, but for the online water-focused program, we will have 4 specialized water engineering-based curriculum, including water chemistry in natural and engineered systems, physical and chemical separation process, biological treatment process, and advanced treatment technologies. So these 4 courses are specifically chosen for boost your career, such as in solving more complicated issues in the emerging water treatment industry. And besides, we also have a project design course that we need to submit the different reports at different level of different time of your master study. So you will directly work with a faculty member in developing your project design. Next slide, please. So I will briefly talk about what will be covered from these 4 core classes for the water engineering. So the water chemistry will provide you the detailed chemical principles and advanced calculation for the acid-base equilibrium, metal-ligand coordination, solid precipitation, dissolution process, redox chemistry, and reaction kinetics. And the CE 225 physical chemical process will talk more about the detailed steps in the water or drinking water treatment process, including the coagulation, flocculation, sedimentation, filtration, treatment train, disinfection, water softening, and membrane filtration. And the CE 226 will be focusing on the biological process, including the microbial principle, BOD removal, nutrient removal, sludge treatment, and energy and resource recovery. So these classes are different from the undergrad level training because we've highly focused on the details and the calculation and even the project design. And the other one, CE 243, Advanced Water Treatment Technologies, will further focus on the materials and modeling for adsorption, ion exchange, and membrane technologies. And we know these 3 technologies are very effective in removing the PFAS, and that's actually what so many consulting companies and government agencies are working to deal with the PFAS pollutant removal. And we also have the advanced oxidation and reduction methods specifically tailored for the PFAS removal topic, so that after taking the course, you will be ready for directly working on the PFAS related projects. And we know this is a big market for at least in the next 10 or 20 years. And we'll also focus on treatment train systems and case studies and project design on the PFAS treatment. So we will have this kind of training during taking the course. And we also demonstrate other case studies such as nutrient control or the catalyst development, and also develop the critical thinking on the frontier research and development. Next slide, please. Okay, so our water focus has 4 faculty members, and so our program is special because we have multiple faculty members focus on the chemical principle and chemical technology and the microbial technology. So we have the expertise in various aspects of the water system, such as treatment and reuse, advanced oxidation, DBP control, heavy metals, groundwater remediation, advanced reduction, PFAS treatment, and catalytic treatment. And for the 2 microbial faculties, we focus on the phase transport remediation of emerging organic contaminants and pathogen transmission and control in the built environment, water, and food. So we believe that if you join our master program, you will have the opportunity to discuss with our faculties, and we also have the established connection with many industries, utilities, and even the chemical companies. So I would say you will get many extra input beyond the course study plan. So we will provide the insights and even the suggestion for the career development. So that's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jin-Young. All right. So now we're transitioning to talking about our Masters in Air Quality Systems Engineering, presented by Professor Kelly Barsanti.
All right, thanks, Sunny. Next slide. Okay, so I'm going to talk about a couple of different things here. And the first thing that I want to talk about is we are in the process of rolling out a new master's program in air quality. So this is a really exciting new offering for the department. It is something that, again, we're in the process of. We hope to have this ready by next year or perhaps the following. And the structure of this MS program in air quality engineering is largely actually modeled after the biotech program. And so what we've done here is we've thought a lot about, you know, what are the emerging careers in air quality engineering? How can we better train our master's students to go into the workforce? And that is, and then we've drawn upon the strengths in the department to create a curriculum. And as part of the other thing that isn't actually shown here that I'll talk about a little bit more in some future slides is that this program also includes an internship. So like the BIOTECH MS, it's intended to be a one-year program with coursework followed by the internship. And so this is actually just a small fraction of the courses that are offered. It would be a selection of mandatory department courses and then followed by a selection of courses from different departments so that you get a broad view of air quality engineering across your interests. So some of the department courses that will be part of the program include aerosol technology, a new air quality modeling course developed by Dr. Ivy, advanced air pollution control and engineering, the technology of air pollution control, and combustion engineering. And then some examples of the courses that are being taught out of the program, outside of the department that make up the electives of the program include chemistry and physics of aerosols, environmental impacts of energy production and conversion, and a policy course, environmental economics and policy. So this is just to give you an idea of the types of courses that we'll be offering through this program. Next slide. So in addition to introducing you just to the master's program that's coming, I want to just talk about the relevance of our work. So California, for better or worse, our air quality has been in the news very frequently over the last, many, many decades. Historically, we had we still have some of the worst air pollution in the country, but it has gotten much, much better. So in the 50s and 60s, the air quality in California was, severe according to the EPA criteria, which just means it was very, very poor air quality. And then, due to a lot of regulations, and this is where I like to say it's where, the engineering and the science and the policy comes together, right? So engineering brought forth the solutions to start cleaning up emissions. We have cleaner cars, cleaner burning factories, et cetera. And because of that, we drastically improved our air quality. But now we're in this really interesting time, and that's what some of these pictures show here. And that is that despite the great reductions in emissions and dramatic improvement in air quality, we still suffer from a number of poor air quality days here in Southern California. So these include wildfire events, such as what is shown here, but also we're starting to see an influence and an interplay between climate and chemistry on things like ozone formation. So even when we have decreases in emissions, we're paying a bit of a price with increased temperatures. So there's a lot of really interesting things going on. We're in an incredibly rich area, both historically for air pollution engineering, but also I think moving into the future in terms of technologies and controls to continue to improve air quality here and across the world. Next slide. So to give you some examples of the type of research that we do, we have lab research. So shown here are a couple of different Teflon chambers that are used to study pollutant formation in a somewhat controlled environment. So there's this chamber on the left is a mobile lab. So it allows you to roll the chamber out, connect it to an emission source like a car, bring it back into the lab and apply all the analytical techniques that you have in the lab to understand the emissions and then the subsequent chemistry from those emissions. And then we have featured on the lower right, we have one of the largest indoor chambers in the world in operation out at CSERT. So this, the size of the chamber allows us to do experiments that wouldn't be able to be done elsewhere. So it's a really rich opportunity and unique opportunity here at CSERT and at UCR. Next slide. Okay, so we also do, so in addition to doing a lot of lab research, we do research in the field. So here are a few examples of the field research that is ongoing. So Don Collins' group, they use drones to measure ozone and other pollutants. So they're doing some really neat work looking at vertical profiles of pollutants. So that's something that's really important but hard to capture. My group has been doing wildfire sampling. So here we were collecting, we collected samples on board the Twin Otter. And then Sunny's group has been using lightweight samplers to, that are placed on people to look at personal exposure to pollutants. Next slide. Okay. We also do computer modeling, right? So Sunny, Dr. Ivy's group uses regional air quality models to look at ozone formation and pollutant concentrations. In my group, we do detailed process level modeling. So we're trying to improve the chemistry that happens in the air quality models that Dr. Ivy uses. And next slide. And really the exciting thing is that we're just part of a very large group of faculty across campus that do air quality research. So Sunny, can you give me a time check? I should have a clock going, but I don't.
Problem, we're at 43. We could take about 2 more minutes.
Okay, so yeah, I just wanted to take a little bit of time here to just show you that, you know, here at UCR, again, we are in this department are fortunate just to be part of sort of this network of faculty at UCR. So moving from left to right in this figure, we can think about starting with sort of the fundamental interactions, right? So you can think about fundamental chemistry at the molecular scale, thinking about chemical kinetics or spectroscopy. So that's on the left side, so faculty in chemistry. Then moving into looking at nano and microscale processes, particle formation, aerosol composition. So we have here faculty in chemistry as well as environmental science, and that is also where some of our faculty in the department sit. And then we move really into more of the urban scale, regional scale, and then all the way up to the global scale. So at the urban scale, looking at things like emissions, exposure, health. We talked a little bit about biomass burning, and air quality. We haven't really talked too much about air quality and meteorology, except I did note that things like, you know, temperature and climate change do influence air quality. So this is sort of a regional scale process all the way up to the global scale. So when we look at these like environmental interactions, we have environmental science faculty, and then up at the global scale, we're adding earth science faculty into this picture. So just, we have these really unique opportunities for cross collaborations and interdisciplinary work. And I think a number of us in the department have ongoing collaborations with these faculty across the campus. Next slide. And this really brings it back to actually the MS program. So we have, several years ago, we got some very exciting news that the California Air Resources Board was moving their testing headquarters to Riverside. There were several other locations in competition for this facility, and UCR, through the university and the city and a lot of hard work, you know, sort of won, we can say we won the competition to have CARB located, put their Southern California headquarters. So this is a very exciting opportunity for students, largely, well, for lots of different things, but I really am excited about opportunities for students and their ability to actually see the connections between coursework, research, engineering, and policy. And we really hope to build a strong internship program with CARB once they get here. And I think that's it for me.
Thank you, Kelly. And I'm sorry about the slide transitions. The chat started interfering with the slides. So thank you. So now we're going to move over to our faculty question and answer panel. So you can disregard this message about grad CEE. You can email that email address later if you have follow-up questions. So I'm going to stop sharing and invite our faculty to turn on their videos and participate in our panel. Okay, so, okay, now we have a question in the chat. Are there funding opportunities for master's students? Juchen or Kelly?
Do you want me to take this one, Juchen, or you? I think Juchen might be frozen. So Jeffrey, typically our MS students are not funded. I don't know if that varies now.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Someone. Okay, I think Juchen's coming in and out. So yes, so as I was saying, typically the master's students are not funded positions. I do think that occasionally there are opportunities for master's students to engage, you know, once they're either, you know, if, so for example, in the MS thesis program, if you go for 2 years, now that's a little bit different than the programs that we've been, of course, talking about here in terms of the biotech and the MSOL and the MS air quality. But in the thesis programs, I do think that sometimes there are opportunities for students to be funded, for example, during the summer, like between their first and second years. But typically, and especially these one-year programs are, they are not research-based positions, so they are not funded positions. And I don't know if anyone else wants to add to that or has a different experience.
So I guess my internet has problems. I just kick out the second time. But yeah, I think I just heard Dr. Basani said yes. For 1 year's master program, we probably not typically provide financial support for the 1 year master program. Yeah, but for the thesis master, basically it's a 2 years master program. So it's really depends on your thesis advisor.
Thank you. So I have a few predetermined questions in case there are no questions from our attendees.
I have 2 questions.
Shoot.
So my first question would be, what would be like the main distinction between, I guess, life as an undergrad versus a life as a graduate student in terms of how a course is structured and stuff like that?
I can answer that for the biotechnology program, and I think maybe some of the answers would be similar for the MSO, the environmental program as well. I think one of the biggest differences that we've built in to this program, and I guess I heard Dr. Basante mention the same thing for the air one as well, is that there's an internship program here. And so this is really a built-in part of this program, of the industrial biotechnology one, where you're forced to go out and have interactions that are outside of the classroom. And that might be on campus at a research lab, like my own lab, or other faculty are involved in industrial biotechnology in our department or another. But our preference is for you to go into industry. And so I think those opportunities are available. And I think that's a really valuable part of it, which you experience life outside of the classroom directly related to the field of study. The other part that I've made sure to build in to this program is that we have that process design laboratory that continues all year. And that course is really built around, you know, project-directed learning, meaning that, you know, you're given an assignment, but it's not an assignment that says, you know, go calculate the square root of whatever number, etc. You know, it's not a math problem in that sense. It's a really, you know, a problem-solving exercise that, in my experience, that course has been, you know, here's a general idea of the thing that we would like to build, the bioprocess we'd like to build. You know, can you suggest to us whether it's a viable process or not? And so that's a really open-ended question, and we try to, at least in that part of the program, really try to drive open-ended questions or answering open-ended questions. And that's a big, I think, difference from your typical classroom type of activity. That's not to say that you don't have also some lecture classes as well that are a little more traditional, but there are those elements of the program, and I think that's reflected in the water program as well as the air program, where we've got the kind of open-ended problems that are directed towards answering, you know, a real life problem as opposed to a classroom problem.
Got it. You answered that question perfectly. My second question would be, is there a GPA requirement that has to be maintained throughout, or can I get by with just like C's and just get my degree?
David kind of, he broke the floodgates to ask questions, but I was also kind of curious about that, so thank you for taking the ball on that, David.
So I think, Juchen, you probably have an answer for this, but I believe that the minimum requirement as a graduate student is a 3.0 GPA, which
Yes.
as a graduate school is imminently attainable, I believe. You know, the minimum requirement to get in is a 3.0 for all master's students or for all graduate students. And that's a UCR grad division answer. That's not a department specific answer. And so the minimum requirement is a 3.0 to gain acceptance. And I think that that's a really attainable GPA as you go through as well. Of course, you have to do the work, but it's attainable.
Yes. So I think.
Juchen, I don't know.
Yeah, I think Professor Wilson said was correct. Yeah. So the minimum GPA you have to maintain throughout your program is 3.0, which is average B, a B average.
I got two answers right.
Thank you, Professor. Oh, also my last question, if I could, what would be like the student to faculty ratio? Like, let's say in a class, would it be like an average 10 students for a professor? Would it be different? Would it be more packed, etc.?
I can answer that for at least the biotech one. The class in the biotechnology program has been as high as 5 in the last couple of years. And so that's not for all of your classes. And I expect that you'll have about 10 to 15 students per faculty in the lecture classes, the vast majority of the lecture classes for the industrial biotechnology program.
Got it. Thank you.
There's a question in the chat about the GPA, and
Yes, I want to make a clarification for that.
I
Yes,
think it's just. I thought it was just an average, but Juchen, you might have the current data.
Yeah, I think if you have a C and for example, right, if you have 1 quarter, your average is below 3.0. So that probably would be put in your probation. And so I that's my impression. So for right now, for my answer is to be safe, every course you need a minimum B. But yeah, that in my understanding. So for example, if you have a course like you got a C, but another course got an A, average B, but that still can be problematic. Am I right, David?
I think it's just the overall has to be a 3.0. Now you can receive a C as long as you have an A with your other course.
Oh, okay.
And I also see whether GRE is required for MS applicants, and it is not required.
GRE is not required for this year. Yeah, for 2021, GRE is not required for both master's and PhD applicants.
Can you elect to have a pass, no pass grading scale as opposed to a grading scale to work around the GPA requirement?
Probably not. Yeah, so you need to accumulate enough a credit to graduate. Yeah, so basically you have to be the grade need to be latter grade. Yeah.
Thank you.
There's one question in the chat for the biotechnology program. I need to step out, so I will answer this question and then log off, Sunny. The question is about on the graduation program page, there's no section for the biotechnology MS. That's true. This biotechnology, any of the programs we've been talking about today are all subsets of a chemical and environmental engineering master's degree. And so the industrial biotechnology is, in technical speak, Plan 2 MS. Plan 2 refers to the fact that it's a course-based master's, and it's a Plan 2 MS degree in chemical and environmental chemical and environmental engineering. There's a specific track of that program called Industrial Biotechnology, and that will be the same, I believe, for Dr. Brasante's description of the MS program for air. Is that right?
That's right.
Yeah, so all of the degrees we've been talking about are chemical and environmental engineering degrees, and you apply via the same route, which is you apply directly to the MS program for our department, and then indicate in your letter that you're interested in one of these specific programs. I'll put the link to the Industrial Biotechnology page in the chat. In the end, it will redirect you to our graduate program as well, just the graduate program overall in the department, in the school.
And I also have to leave at 6, but I was going to field, Jun's asking about the GRE requirement. So I think that it's fair to say that for this year, right, we've waived the application or the requirement for the GRE, and we are pursuing or investigating, I should say, waiving the GRE for MS programs in the future as well. So maintaining that waiver. We're also looking at that, maybe for the PhD programs as well. So it's something that we're talking about internally. We're sort of aware of the big movements and all of the discussion around it. And so we're hoping to see how it works this year. And we've developed a rubric for admissions, and we'll revisit soon, I'm sure.
Thank you, Kelly. I have a follow-up question. I get this from a lot of international applicants. So I'm really speaking on their behalf. Is this 3.0 GPA? So a lot of other schools advertise it as an upper division GPA, or major course GPA has to be above 3.0. But we apparently advertise it as an overall GPA. As you know, many international students do not perform really well in lower division courses. And they were counting on the upper division courses, just like our own students would do. Will we be able to make an exception in those cases?
Ju-Chen, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but we are looking more closely at the major courses, right? So the courses that are required. But the 3.0 is, Ju-Chen, you want to go?
3.0 is the last 2 years.
Okay. Yeah. So I would say that we typically do hold pretty hard and fast to that. I think that we found, right, that's a pretty good predictor, but we certainly are looking more closely at the courses in the major. But Ju-Chen, please go ahead.
Yeah, I think Adrian always calculate. So the student self-support the GPA, but Adrian always calculate in the last 2 years CPA. So we use that as the criteria, the last 2 years CPA. Actually,
also, this year a lot of
because the last 2 years, but there's also some like a breath course, something like that. But we do. I'm pretty sure we use the last 2 years CPA. Yeah.
Thank you. A lot of international students won't be able to take the TOEFL exam, and due to the pandemic, so they're asking if we accept Duolingo as an alternative. I know undergraduates started accepting that. Will CEE also consider that?
Well, I guess that's a graduate division question. So yeah, with the language requirement, we just follow the graduation, whatever graduate division think okay, so we are okay. Yeah.
Thanks. That helps.
Yeah, I think there'll be a question from the chat. So if you're interested in petroleum, what program would favor university interest? I think, well, ideally there should be petroleum engineering, and there are a number of universities nationwide offer this discipline actually, right? University of Oklahoma, University of Texas, and Texas Austin, and then University of Montana. That's the program I know of, specifically offer petroleum engineering, right? So petroleum engineering is slightly different from chemical engineering because I had some background about petroleum engineering. So to be very honest, right? So our master program may not are not tailored for petroleum engineering. Yeah. So you probably need to look at another program like I mentioned, right? University of Oklahoma and the University in Texas. Yeah. So they have a very good and strong petroleum engineering program. And also, oh, when do application open for MSBS right now? Okay, so if you're already doing going to graduate next fall, right? Next spring. So from UCR, so now is a perfect time to start. So, and also the last question, the graduate program is not separated into chemical engineering and the environmental engineering, but is degree in chemical and environmental engineering, correct?
Can you repeat the last part of your question about, you broke up a little bit. So the question before.
I mean, I'm just reading the question from the chat.
Yeah, so one of the students missed your response to, is BSMS open?
Oh, it's open right now.
Okay, you broke up a little bit, I think.
So the application is open right now. You can apply the BMSMS right now. Yeah. So for the last question, the graduate program is not separated into chemical engineering and environmental engineering, but is a degree in chemical and environmental engineering, correct? Well, yeah, I think that is correct.
Yeah, their graduate degree is in chemical and environmental.
Right. So you are currently a third year. So when should I be able to apply for the BSMS? Well, I guess if you planning to do the MSBS, right? So and well, you can talk with me, right? So you can talk with me when we can discuss your plan of application. But the application you can do is maybe not next year, okay? But we always try to recruit, right? So if you are thinking, although you are only a sophomore, sorry, you are junior. So if you are thinking about going to do the MS and the BSMS degree, so send me an email, okay? Talk with me, okay? So and we can discuss in the details. Okay.
GRE, question about GRE.
Okay. Yes, I think Professor Pasandi already left the Zoom meeting, but like what she said, okay, let me just repeat one more, let me emphasize this. For 2021, So GRE for both MS and the PhD are waived. Okay, so we don't require GRE for 2021. Okay, and meanwhile, we are also looking, actually we are doing the study right now and try look at the possibility or the feasibility to permanently remove the requirement of GRE for both MS and PhD. Okay, so short answer is yes, for 2021, GRE is not required. Beyond 2021, we try to see the possibility to permanently remove the GRE requirement.
Okay, so with that, I'm going to wrap up the Q&A session and just share one last slide. So thank you, Professor Guo. So guys, connect with us after this session. You can email gradcee@engr.ucr.edu. You can email the professor specifically. You can chat with us on Twitter @CEE@UCR, and please visit our website. So if you have your iPhones or your Androids out, you can scan that QR code and it'll take you to the website that talks about applying for graduate school, specifically for the CEE program. Okay, so if you just want to take a screenshot of this, go ahead. And with that, that wraps up our inaugural virtual graduate open house. And guys, put up the hand claps for the professors and a hand clap for yourself for showing up right before Thanksgiving. So thanks everybody for participating, and
thank you.
Yeah, have a great break.